Alrighty, would I buy this property? Let's give it a spin and find the suburb for today. It is Hawthorne East. Alrighty, let's jump over to realestate.com and we will type in Hawthorne East and we'll hit search. I will do an apartment because it is definitely something that first home buyers are considering. I've spoken to multiple people recently just in terms of apartments. But let's go. I'm going to pull in this one. Let's go. I think this is probably one that a lot of people would consider because it's new. So there's a couple of little tips and tricks that I'll cover today. Price guide. So this is specifically for Victoria. So if you're not familiar with a statement of information, even if you're buying an investment property, this is super relevant. But if you are buying in Victoria, the statement of information can be very helpful, or at least to understand the process behind it. But how I use it is typically from these comparable sales. I think it's a bit odd that these guys don't have a comparable sale, given that this is an apartment complex and there would 100% have been sales in that area that would be similar to that particular property. So there's a few alarm bells going to me or going off to me from the outset, just based on like how these agents are typically conducting business. I'm not saying that anything's untoward at this stage, but yeah, something's just going off in my head. One of the things that I'll do straight away is I'll just pull the what's happened there? Let's go this one. So I will generally just pull the address of the property. So the address of the property is 771 Toorak Road, and that's the apartment number. So 402 at 771. But if you go 771 or whatever the building address is, Domain release it's such a beneficial document and piece of information. It's not so much a document, it's a gathered piece of information on that particular building. So if I go to for sale, there's actually a few properties there that are actually for sale. And then this one has even been for like it's sold within the last 6 months. So part of that statement of information is that there's no properties that have been sold that are comparable to this one in the last 6 months. And I can already find two properties because May is still in that 6 months. They might say, oh, but it's a one bedroom, not a two bedroom, because this property is a 221. And then they might have they might go, oh, but that's only a one bathroom. Ours is a two bathroom, so it's not comparable enough. But I can nearly guarantee that there'll be other properties that have sold on Toorak Road even that would be comparables. So again, something just to be aware of when you're assessing these properties as to like how the agents can operate. But yeah, going back to the building profile, 771 Toorak Road, there's 52 others. All right, so there's 53 in the complex. 60% is owner occupied. That means 60% of the people, 60% of that 53 or 52 apartments or dwellings are owner occupied. And owner occupied means they own it, so they've bought it and they're living in there. The rest are rented. So 40% of those are rented. That to me it's a strong mix. Like I would say the closer you are to 70, 80%, I would say that's like ideal. But because there's not too many in the building, I would say that, 60% is still okay. But why would I consider purchasing this property or not purchasing this property? So when I'm looking back at sale prices, so we can see here, there's a lot have sold, like a lot have sold in the last few months. Sorry, in the last few years. So it goes back to 2015. And if I look at a 211, so without knowing what this property actually looks for, I can click on this one actually, because it's got actual images in there. So if I'm looking at this one, nothing's really changed. If I go back to the subject property, it's all pretty much the same, right? Yeah, it's got the exposed roof. It's got this white with gold accents or features around the cabinetry. So yeah, this is 10 years old, right? This is a 10-year-old sale. And if I'm looking at it, it sold for 555, right? So 555. And if I go back to the statement of information, these guys are asking for 550 to 570,000. And if I go again back to the building profile, if I'm looking at some sales here to, where's a two? That's a 221, 211. 550,000, and that's 4 years ago. 6 years, like the property has sold, been available for 6 years. Someone's owned it for 6 years, and it's actually gone, like for a similar property, it's actually gone down $5,000. And the fact that these people are trying to get 550 to 570,000 for a property that sold for 555,000 10 years ago is extremely concerning to me from a capital growth perspective. This is your first property, even if it's your first investment property. It has to, if you want it to be a part of your wealth creation, it has to go up in value, right? This to me is a dead asset because you have outgoings as well. So there will be lifts, there'll be underground basements that leak, there'll be gardens to maintain. This could have circa $5,000 per year in outgoings. So you do the maths on that. 10 years of ownership, $5,000 thereabouts in maintenance fees or body corp fees. So that's $50,000. So let's just say you're all in for 600, and then you're trying to sell it for, at the top end of the range, 570,000. Just going back to this one, top end of the range is 570,000. You've lost $30,000 over 10 years of ownership. That to me is crazy. Like I always want to outline this to people that are considering apartments. Apartments are good. These ones are not. So when there's a considerable amount of properties for sale or in a complex. So if you've got a block of land, let's just say if I go to good old trusty Google Maps and we pull up this particular location. So I'll zoom in here, and that's the building there. All right. So you can imagine it's not a massive block. It should be able to, yeah. So 800, and let's just call it 800 square meters. So 800 square meters. And then this is where scarcity comes in. So if I go around this area, so if I go up a little bit, and these are probably some apartment complexes here. Yeah, that's another apartment complex there. So if I measure the distance or measure the size of this particular apartment complex, you know, it's the same, it's roughly the same size block. Let's just say 750 to 800 square meters. And this particular one, so we could probably even do a building profile on this one if we can get the number. So 803, I think it's 803 Toorak Road. Yeah, 803 Toorak Road. Let's just see if we can pull a building profile on this. No, 803 Toorak Road, Hawthorn East. It might not even have one because it's old. Oh no, there it is. So it's actually pulling it as a complete property. I don't think that's the case because it has, maybe it is, maybe it's just a single house. Let's just go, I'll find another one that is, it definitely will look like a smaller complex. Yeah, there's some houses in the mix there. Toorak Road is definitely going to have some larger developments on there. But even that particular scenario, right? So if I'm looking at this one and that property, so there's one times within that 800 square meter block versus, okay, so versus the one that we had back here, which was 53 on the same size block. So this is where scarcity comes in. I'm typically looking, if I'm buying an apartment, it would be closer to under 15, or maybe it's 18 in terms of like how many we want to buy in or how many we want there to be in that particular complex. So you've got this same size block of land. And if we did the maths on that, if we said 800 square meters divided by 53 is 15, right? So there's 15 square meters essentially attributed to each of those 53 apartments versus 800 square meters divided by, let's just say it's 18, 44. So it's triple the amount of land to property ratio. All right. And that's the key number. And I don't want to get too complex into this because, yeah, I'm wanting to keep this a simple run through. But if you are considering an apartment, please make sure you know the numbers. This is all free information. You can go and get this. Is not paid. It's not behind some paywall. You can go and get this information very quickly, very easily. Rewatch this video and keep tuned because I'm going to be releasing a couple of these a week. And then if we get some interest, I'll start producing more of them. But yeah, if there's a property that you want me to review, please feel free to send it through as well. But yeah, that's that one. Probably, not probably, this would get an absolute no from me. See you next time.